So I'm sitting here with Huffington Post editor-in-chief, Arianna Huffington. She's here at USC to talk to us a little bit about her Sleep Revolution campaign and to talk to me about her time at the Huffington Post and the state of journalism in 2016. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. What a fantastic place.
It's pretty great. We can't complain. So tell me about the Sleep Revolution and why you're here today.
So we really wanted to bring the sleep revolution, which is basically an awareness campaign to change the way college students think about sleep. It's now going to be 100 colleges. And we started at the University of Denver on Friday. Yesterday I was at Stanford. Today, USC. We're very excited to be here. We have a lot of HuffPost editors at large. And our goal is to change the perception that in college you have to choose two among these three things: grades, social life, or sleep.
I've heard that one before.
Because we find that sleep deprivation is at the heart of so many mental health issues: depression, anxiety, binge drinking. And that's not so much the fault of students as the fault of our culture that has glamorized sleep deprivation as something macho that winners do. And now all the science shows conclusively that that's not the case, that in fact sleep is a performance enhancement tool. And in fact, at Stanford, I did an event with Andre Iguodala from the Golden State Warriors. They have their big game tonight. And he attributed a lot of his success and his becoming an MVP to the fact that he upped his sleep to 8 hours. So that's kind of the theme of these sleep fairs, where we bring different products that students can use to make their sleep easier, like eye masks and white noise machines and cool PJs and candles, etc., as well as copies of my book on the sleep revolution that gives them all the information about the science and the history and how we got here, and also lots of tools and techniques how to get a better sleep.
Great. And how do you personally reconcile your need to sleep with your position as a digital journalist? I find myself constantly plugged in, and there are studies that are saying that that's not the right way to treat your body, that it's affecting the way. Yeah. So I just wonder, like, in this digital media landscape where we're expected to be plugged in all the time to know everything that's going on, how do you reconcile your professional need with your personal needs?
Well, that's a great question. And in fact, the reason why I would love you and anyone in the digital field to read the science chapter is because once you read what happens to our brain when we're sleep deprived, then you will find the discipline and the desire to change certain habits, because basically our cognitive abilities, our judgment, our creativity are all degraded. And increasingly, there's so much commodity news that the ones who are going to be particularly successful and have distinct voices are the ones who are actually going to be able to come up with original ideas, original ways to present news or opinion, rather than simply repeat the same thing that 10,000 people have already tweeted. And that requires learning to disconnect from technology in order to recharge and reconnect with ourselves. I see it a little bit like the way we treat our smartphones. You know, we always make sure that they have enough charge, right? And if they drop below 13%, we get worried that we need to find a recharging shrine. But we don't do the same with our bodies. So in the same way, we need to plug our phones to recharge them. We need to unplug ourselves to recharge. And then we're going to be much more effective and much more able to have a distinct voice that can actually resonate with people.
Right. And in that same vein, on distinct voices and original reporting and storytelling, I want to pivot a little bit and talk to you about the decisions that the Huffington Post made about how you were going to cover Donald Trump. I've been hearing, and granted, I'm in a very specific sort of environment where we are questioning the media constantly. We're questioning our practices
And rightly so.
and our education. And a lot of what we've been questioning is the journalist's responsibility. So are we supposed to be unbiased and just completely neutral in our reporting, or do you think that there's a responsibility in being more of a transparent reporter and allowing our opinions to be known, especially in the case of a candidate like Donald Trump, where people are saying, like, this is a dangerous person, why is no one talking about this?
I think we have a responsibility to point out all the ways in which Donald Trump is dangerous. And the way the Huffington Post has covered him is in a way the way we would be covering Kim Jong-un. We believe they have similar characteristics. They are both buffoons and they are dangerous. So at first we covered him as a buffoon in the entertainment section. The day he proposed to ban 1.6 billion Muslims from this country, which is as un-American as anything any presidential candidate has ever proposed, we started covering him as a clear and present danger, with an editor's note at the end of each story that mentions him that says, we would like to remind our readers that Donald Trump is a birther who has proposed banning 1.6 billion Muslims, who regularly incites violence at his rallies, who is a serial xenophobe, sexist, and liar. And we feel it's very important to remind people. And I feel the media have done a terrible job reminding people. Bob Woodward did a 90-minute interview with him for the Washington Post, in which he did not raise either the fact that he still believes Obama wasn't born here, or his Muslim proposal, or his inciting violence. And these three are really so far-fetched and so radical and so dangerous that I believe the American public needs to be constantly reminded.
Mm-hmm. And people have pointed out that we lack a figure like Edward Murrow and like Cronkite, who stood at the helm of these TV stations and told people exactly what they felt and backed up their opinions with hard evidence. Did you feel any sort of responsibility yourself as an editor to kind of be that voice of reason?
I felt more a responsibility on behalf of everyone, all our reporters and editors at the Huffington Post. It wasn't just my personal responsibility, it was the responsibility of the Post. And all our reporters and editors were aligned that we would not treat Trump like a conventional candidate. And, you know, we disagree with Ted Cruz, but you know where Ted Cruz stands.
Yeah, at least he's rooted in a political,
exactly,
like,
in a political ideology.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, incidentally, is, just to link it to our previous point, is displaying, according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, all the symptoms of chronic sleep deprivation. You know, inability to process even basic information, mood swings, outbursts of anger, and paranoid tendencies, regurgitation of incomprehensible pablum. And you see somebody who is the last person on earth you want anywhere near the nuclear button.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me about the reaction that you got when you made that decision. When you made I remember as a news consumer, the announcement that the Huffington Post was only going to cover Donald Trump as entertainment. And at first I was like, I think I like this decision, but it's too early to tell. And I think that the conversation now is shifting in a way that says maybe the media didn't do the best job in how they covered Donald Trump at the onset. And I'm wondering how you feel about that after the fact.
I feel great about that. I feel really proud of both our decisions. And I feel that the media, because of the ratings bonanza that Donald Trump is, covered him far too seriously, gave him an enormous amount of coverage, and they justified by saying he's the front runner. But this is not at all the coverage that either Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders on the days when he was the front runner got. So this was purely driven by ratings. And as you know, he was even allowed to phone in to Sunday morning shows, which is unheard of. And all that solidified the impression of a legitimate candidate, which he's not.
So if you don't think that news coverage should be driven by ratings, what do you think news coverage should be driven by?
I think news coverage should be driven by what the editors believe is in the public interest, what we believe is important to communicate to our readers, and also we feel we have a big responsibility to cover both the crisis, both the problems, and also the solutions. So we have a big initiative that we call What's Working,
Hmm.
which covers solutions to everything, because somewhere someone is solving every problem, whether it's climate change or cities or transportation. But we in the media tend to still follow, if it bleeds, it leads.
Mm.
And we need to recognize that we also have a responsibility to put the spotlight on solutions.
Absolutely. I agree with that statement. And as a young journalist, and you're in this hub of young journalists who, as graduation approaches, are thinking very seriously about this landscape. And I think I've been having conversations with my peers about how we never would have thought that this is what the digital media landscape was going to look like our freshman year. And it's really exciting to see this field that's changing so rapidly. What advice do you have for young journalists who are getting ready to graduate and enter the workforce?
I think really to find your voice and find what you're passionate about, and find 100 ways to say it and to show it and to videotape it. Today we have an entire day of Snapchat Discover channel called Recharge on sleep and recharging. And our belief is that the things we're passionate about, solutions, wellness, politics, we can cover on multiple platforms in different ways to reach different audiences where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. It was a real pleasure talking with
Thank you so much. Absolutely lovely to be with you, and happy graduation.
Thank you very much.